Missing from today's Formula One Grand Prix in Adelaide is that of Nigel Mansell, who this year turned his back on Formula One to race Indy cars. History shows that Mansell made the transition superbly to win the championship in his first season. But as Mike Raymond reports, the Brit could well have done without a tilt at touring cars last weekend.
For British fans, it was a dream come true. Their Nigel was back home for the Toka touring car shootout, and 60,000 plus fans turned out at Donington. About 30,000 more than the circuit attracted for its Formula One race earlier this year. Mansell, aboard the number 5 2-litre Ford Mondeo, got into the swing of things early, leading and lurching just like the rest of the front-wheel drive set. David Leslie driving a Vauxhall Cavalier and Paul Radisich in the 15 Ford Mondeo were the early pacemakers in the contest, while Nige and Tiff Liddell were attacking the ripple strips like hurdlers. There were a couple of casualties along the way, but the big crowd came to life when Mansell nudged Liddell and moved to third. It was all downhill after that as the IndyCar champ got the Ford unsettled and was given a biff by Tiff on his way to the concrete. It was a huge hit, but apart from a knock on the noggin and a night in hospital, Nige was none the worse for wear.
They all seem a bit brainless, don't they? I mean, my brain's intact at the moment. Maybe I've got to disengage it from now on.
It's a big accident. The cars get hard to drive each lap, and the tyres go off, and they are very hard to hang on to.
He just lost it. I mean, he'd got past me, he was on a big charge, and obviously really fired up. Soper got by me as well. We went into the old hairpin in that order, but Nigel just went for the old hairpin, bouncing over the curbs, got in a big sort of sideways drift, and when you're 45 degrees in a front-wheel drive car, you're in trouble.
The race resumed with Radisich powering to the front, only to be KO'd by Steve Soper. That opened a gap which Roy and Leslie took advantage of, and that was the way they finished, with Leslie trumping Radisich and Soper's BMW. Meanwhile, at Phoenix, Arizona, the NASCAR boys took the green last Sunday for the penultimate round of the Winston Cup Series for '93. The 43-car field was paced by Dick Trickle and Bill Elliott, with Mark Martin neatly tucked in third, just waiting for a gap to open. Ken Schrader's runabouts continued when he was clipped by series leader Dale Earnhardt. Up front, though, Martin took over as Rusty Wallace moved to second, clear of Elliott and Trickle. Earnhardt had a handling problem all day, which made it tougher on guys like Jeff Gordon, who he tapped out of the way. Wallace ended his charge in a shower of sparks as Martin continued to leave his mark. Ernie Irvan coming on strong for second, and Earnhardt effectively wrapping up the Winston Series with a third-place finish.
You know, Steve Neal and the Roush team got me out of the pits in first place. That track positioned me an awful lot. My car was quicker for a few laps, and Ernie was quicker on the long haul, and I knew that, you know, it was going to come down to being really close.
A little closer to home, and fans turned up in big numbers at Sydney's Parramatta Raceway last weekend for the season opener. Former Mr. Motocross Stephen Gall started proceedings in the Valvoline entry and was considered a big chance by the time the 25-lap premiership race came around. However, not too many of the experts had allowed for Queensland aces Steve Mortimer and Todd Wanless. They took off into the distance, forcing Gall, Gary Rush and Brooke Tavenel to give serious chase. As the track hardened up and turned slick, Peter Kraft came into his own in the 86 machine. He ran them down one by one to take the lead when Mortimer got sideways, and from there it was no contest. Rush charging to second, with Wanless a deserving third. Full marks, though, to Kraft, who builds his own cars and motors and is almost apologetic about success.
I'm looking for a big year, and this is a great track, and it's really good to race here.
Mike Raymond reporting for Sportsworld.